Hello, good morning, and this is Backyard Reads, and today we're going to talk about Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. First off, let me tell you that this is a translation by Simon Armitage. Now, let me first tell you, I got this book on sale at a library for about, I think it's like 25 cents. So this version might not be easy to get or obtain. Would say that I like the cover. It's rather simple. You get the point with the knight and knight's armor and everything there, yeah? And first off, there is a very lengthy sort of introduction which sort of ends at page 18, right? And so you actually begin on page 19, right? Now one thing that I have to say is that it does seem that this book is about 170 pages long. However, you also have to take into account that one side is written in Middle English and the other side is written by more modern English. And so in reality, the book is actually about half the page count. So it's about, I would say, 85 pages long. Like, if you want to try and learn a little bit of Middle English, what it sounded like, you can read this and kind of try and translate that in your mind. And so if you were a historical sort of if you wanted to understand language, linguistics and all that, and the English language and its evolution, this would probably be a good read for you. And I know that there's like a film called The Green Knight. I never watched it, right? And I probably never will. Just not my sort of thing. Now this is another poetry book. Well, more specifically, it's I would say a cantos, which is like a long form poetry, right? In which a long form poem in which it can last for pages upon pages upon pages upon pages. And it's divided into 4 sections, right? The first section is like the feast where the Green Knight appears and challenges Gawain and the other knights of the Round Table to a challenge. And then the 2 middle pieces are his journey to this castle and parts of the learning the castle. And then the last part, the 4th part, is the actual challenge itself, and with the Green Knight and then his journey back. The modern understanding of poetry, it's probably a bit of a weird read for most people, but it's something that you should probably understand because it's very important for the English language if you want to understand it. And that's when it comes to the King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table, you find like lots of things about it, right? And like you get lots of stories and versions of it, and it's like a Welsh tale that is been made Frenchified with all these extra additions of like Mordred being born of incest between Morgana and King Arthur, which is again a very French edition. Like a lot of these, a lot of things with the, like one thing I would have to say about the book is that it's a more classical chivalrous tale of knighthood and an understanding of medieval times. Now, one thing about knighthood that not many people understand is that in actual knighthood, that knights were not allowed to attack peasants. Right? They're like, oh, attack a peasant? Oh, I can't do that, blah, blah, blah. No, I can't. It is a very honor-bound thing. And a lot of Americans, I would say, have this very limited understanding of knighthood, of what it was like, of what medieval times were like. Because you find that many of them are very revisionist by nature, or deconstructionist, like George R.R. Martin. And while I enjoy George's Song of Ice and Fire, I do find that it's too pessimistic and nihilistic, and it's supposed to be set in a sort of medievalish world. However, it's a medievalish world that with the sort of modernistic understanding and deconstruction of a medieval period. And so that's why you get a lot of faithlessness and dishonorable sort of people and everything like that, whereas in reality, and this is one problem that you find with a lot of revisionist works and deconstructionist things, in that a lot of people have lack this sort of understanding, this empathy, this trying to put one's own shoes into someone of that time. And so that's why you get something like Song of Achilles, or where it can read like a very modern woman, right, who was just plopped into a Greek time, and it can read very strangely. And that's kind of the problem with a lot of historical fiction, even though this is not historical at all. I mean, King Arthur is just a myth. But it's just to say that it's very complicated sort of thing. Now, like, one thing about this book that I enjoy is just that it's a very interesting understanding of what they valued at the time, right? You can tell what they valued. It was like honesty and purity and being true to your word, and you can hear that throughout the book. You can read that throughout the book. And there was an opportunity in which a woman the wife of a lord that he was staying with tried to essentially get a kiss or something from Gawain, right? And as an honest man and an honest knight and an honorable knight who cannot go against, who respects his host's home, he refuses, and because it's just like, oh no, I can't do that. That's not right. Like, it has a very different understanding, and it's like an misunderstanding of, like, a lot of people don't understand, like, guest right or everything like that. And like, guest right is a very old thing, and it was of a time when people could die very easily, and you would help out each other, right? and it's a reciprocation of host and guest, where the guest would be respectful and would be like, okay, I'm not going to do anything that would insult you, my host, because my host is being very generous and sharing his food, his roof, and everything like that. And it's a very beautiful thing that probably a lot of people could appreciate and probably could learn from, and like these old chivalric values. I enjoyed this book. I think most people should really try and understand what, and it definitely gives a sort of window into the understanding of what people valued back then, and that's a good thing to have, because that gives perspective and understanding, empathizing with others and other situations, because yeah, the situation was very different. And I think that's the main thing that a lot of people kind of lack in this current age, in this current modern day, in that they can't seem to understand what people were like back in a different time. And most people see it in a modern day lens, and as I said, the like Song of Achilles or any sort of I think it's like feminist retelling of mythology or something like that. It's like one of the problems with that is that it becomes too much of a modernistic sort of lens to view things, and it really it's and I would say like a translation is more of an art than it is a science, and having to get it as accurately as possible while not making it too iffy is a skill in of itself that should be celebrated as much as we can when it's done well anyway. And so, like, yeah, there are some things in here that sound like, especially if you compare it to the say the Middle English side of it's just like, oh, that sounds kind of strange, and you kind of don't quite understand it. Well, thankfully there's like explanatory. I think there's like explanatory notes. No, wait, there's not. There's acknowledgements. There's Gawain the poet. Well, about the actual poet of Gawain who wrote this, or apparently, and the translator himself. And it's something that if you love poetry and you like the sort of chivalrous sort of Middle Ages, then I would say give this a go. And if you like King Arthur and the Round Table and all that, I think you should give this a go as well. And well, there you go. That's my review.